With the 2022 season exactly halfway through, it's time to take a look at who might actually achieve his second World Championship title. I mean, win the season, because it's definitely not decided yet. All jokes aside, it's currently looking like it might be a 4-horse race, so let's take a look at the drivers who currently have a hand on the 2022 World Championship trophy. But first, the season so far. Ferrari fans have had a rough few years, and it's a small miracle that there's any fans left at all. There's almost something noble in rooting for a team that was once glorious. But it must have been hard for them to not give themselves alcohol poisoning, because you would need something to try and deal with all the reliability issues or the bad pit strategy. And it all looked like it was about to change this year, as the season started surprisingly well for Ferrari. LeClerc absolutely dominated the Bahrain and Austrian Grand Prix, taking the pole, the win, and the fastest lap on both weekends, and also coming second in Jeddah. Alas, it wouldn't be Ferrari if things didn't go pear-shaped at some point. After a great start, Ferrari was back to, well, being Ferrari. LeClerc had pole position in Miami, Spain, Monaco, and Azerbaijan, and failed to turn them into wins 4 races in a row. It wasn't all bad though, with Leclerc and Sainz managing to get several podiums, but with the Ferrari race strategy being questionable at best, and deliberate self-sabotage at the worst, Red Bull was free to slide through and Verstappen went on a 6-podium win streak from Imola to Canada. After Austria, it does look like Ferrari's finally fighting back. It's another win in the bag for Leclerc and a maiden victory for Sainz in Silverstone. Looking beyond the Red Bull-Ferrari rivalry, it's been an interesting season thus far. McLaren too is having car problems and Mercedes is in the midfield, while Williams is in the points thanks to Albon and Haas has had back-to-back double-point finishes in Silverstone and Austria. Plus, we've also seen the return of the designated replacement driver, Nico Hülkenberg, and many retirements. Elsewhere, there was the new addition to the calendar with the inaugural Miami Grand Prix, and Jeddah was quite literally in flames, and Monaco tried and luckily failed to recreate the conditions of Spa 2021, and not to mention Zhou's accident at Silverstone justifying the halo once again. And with 11 rounds to go, the winner is far from decided yet. As I mentioned, I think the championship is a 4-horse race at this point in the season. The current top 4 in the standings are Verstappen with a healthy 208 points, followed by Leclerc with 170, Perez with 151, and Sainz with 133. The points aren't exactly close, but the gaps aren't impossible to close with some good racing, strategy, and a little bit of luck. At this point, I feel like I should disclose my biases so you know where my opinion's coming from. I am currently rooting for Leclerc and Ferrari, and this isn't because I prefer them for any reason, but I just want each season to be the most interesting. I don't think the same driver winning each year does that, so personally I prefer if Max had to at least fight this year to win instead of just running away with it. I also have nothing against Max or Lewis personally, I just want the season to be fun to watch. With that being said, let's get into the first title contender and the obvious one, Verstappen. Verstappen is obviously the favourite this season. He currently has the most wins and podiums, and he and his closest rival Leclerc have 3 fastest laps each thus far. Not only does Verstappen have a title defend, he's also in one of the, if not the best car on the grid. Yes, he did start the season with 2 DNS through no fault of his own though, but because chief designer Adrian Newey briefly forgot how to build a car. Get it? Because Newey wrote a book called How to... Never mind. The beginning of the season was ruined by reliability issues for both Verstappen and Perez, but after a streak of podiums and wins, it seems that Red Bull has really got ahead this season. And with Mercedes out of the way, Red Bull is clearly the strongest team both build and strategy-wise. Verstappen is also a formidable driver. He's aggressive on the track and he always has been, but you don't win championships by always playing nice and being meek. There is no justification for dangerous driving, but it's clear that Verstappen has matured as a driver over his 7 years in the sport, and it's that maturity combined with his natural aggressiveness that won him the title last year. Being the title defender isn't just good for Verstappen's internal motivation, but it also puts him in the position of the favourite child of the Red Bull family, and there is no point in pretending otherwise. Even his teammate Perez concedes that, saying, "I just want to do the maximum for myself. I'm in this championship and I want to win it, but I'm also aware that we have to look after the team." And with that being said, title contender 2, Perez. Despite the preferential treatment of Verstappen in Barcelona and Baku, Perez is right in saying that he's still in the championship. Currently third in the standings, he has given Red Bull several first and second finishes this race, as well as taking the record-breaking first pole of his career in Jeddah and his third win in Monaco. He has already achieved more podium finishes during the first half of 2022 than he did during the whole 2021 season, and collected 79% of his last year's total score. It is Perez's most successful season yet, and he has proven that he belongs on the podium and that he can do great things in the right car. His current success has been a long time coming, but his decade of experience in F1 is finally paying off. There are, however, a few things taking the wind out of Perez's sail. He's second in the team, no matter how many times Christian Horner assures us he's not, and that the two Red Bulls are always allowed to race each other. To paraphrase the classics, all racing drivers are equal, but some are more equal than others. Secondly, he has to deal with the same reliability issues that are plaguing Verstappen and have forced him to retire in Bahrain due to problems with fuel pressure and in Canada due to a gearbox issue. And third, he's had some absolutely rotten luck this season, having to retire in Austria after contact with Russell. The reason why he's still in the runnings though is that he balances out the retirements and simply less than stellar races with a bit of absolutely rock solid driving. If you want a masterclass in recovering a seemingly lost race, look no further than Perez's performance in Silverstone, going from 4th to 17th to 2nd, and more than earning his Driver of the Day title. And while the car hasn't been as reliable as we expected from Red Bull, it's still a Red Bull. Perez is a good driver in a great car who most likely has a championship in his future, just probably not this year. Title contender number 3, Charles Leclerc. For many, the title fight this season is currently between Verstappen and Leclerc, and it's clear to see why. They are currently first and second in the championship and have mostly been passing the pole position and first places between each other from weekend to weekend. As I mentioned earlier, Leclerc had a very nice start to the season and has had moderate success in the mid-season, despite the Ferrari racing strategy being decided by an intern rolling a 20-sided dice. Ferrari really is the living proof of the idea that you are always your own worst enemy, and nowhere has it been clearer than in Silverstone. The very funky decision made regarding the pit strategy left Leclerc without a podium in Great Britain, and fans genuinely baffled. But at least it got us this amazing quote by the Ferrari team principal: "It is not that at that moment we did things randomly," which is implying that at other moments they did indeed do things randomly. Ferrari's team strategy being this random is a shame because Leclerc, an immensely talented and likable driver, deserves better. From his back-to-back championships in the GP3 series and Formula 2 to plenty of decent finishes during his 1 year in Sauber and coming 4th in the championship with Ferrari in 2019 before Ferrari temporarily joined the F1.5 season in 2020 and 2021, it's clear that Leclerc has got the pace. Not to mention that in Australia, he joined the fairly exclusive club of achieving a Grand Slam, starting from pole position, leading every lap of the race, and finishing in first, and also having the fastest lap. Only 24 drivers in history have achieved at least one Grand Slam, and there are only 5 Grand Slam winners on the current grid. Plus, there's another reason to root for Leclerc, and as I said, I am not unbiased here, he is my favourite of the current drivers. But he also stands the best chance of giving us an actually interesting title fight that goes on until the very end of this year. Right now, it's still anyone's game. Well, maybe not Stroll or Latifi's, but I hope it stays that way just for the sake of the sport. And I'm not alone in thinking this. Even Sebastian Vettel has expressed his support for Leclerc while staying perfectly rational, as is the German way, saying, "I think it will be Max, but I wish it will go on until the end, and I hope Charles will pip Max, but rationally at this stage, I think Max." So we have the current top 3 in the standings battling it out for the championship. But who is the 4th horseman? It is, of course, Hamilton. Title contender number 4, Hamilton. Now, yes, hear me out. I know that Sainz is 4th in the standings, and that constructor-wise, it's very much Red Bull versus Ferrari, with Mercedes a distant 3rd. And I also know that Hamilton is currently even behind his teammate George Russell. But if Mercedes do have a shout at the championship this year, it's with Hamilton, not Russell, and here's why. A lot can be said about the technical brilliance of Mercedes in the past few years, but Hamilton didn't become a 7-time world championship because of the car alone. Very few drivers have had rookie seasons like Hamilton did in 2007, coming 2nd in the championship during his first year with McLaren. Now, it's perfectly normal for constructors to rise and fall within the rankings, but when Mercedes said a new era starts here when introducing their 2022 car, they probably didn't mean that they'd be entering the midfield era. At the moment, Mercedes is absolutely dominating, being the best of the rest this season. Hamilton's racecraft is something else. It's calculated and aggressive at the same time, and for the past few races, he's managed to get podium finishes out of the terrible car Mercedes has supplied him with. And to George's defense, he's also been collecting points and podiums all throughout the season, so Mercedes might be on their way to fixing the car, and promising an interesting second half to the season. Toto Wolff remains optimistic as well, saying that Mercedes is overcoming their troubles and is slowly but surely on their way to a win. Slowly probably isn't the best strategy in F1, but at this point, Mercedes fans are probably willing to take anything. If Mercedes manages to fix the car enough to make it competitive and get Hamilton back on the podium, and if Ferrari and Red Bull continue to struggle with their cars as they have thus far, Hamilton may be able to rack up enough points by November to be in the runnings, especially after a few well-placed DNS from the top 4. And I know that's a massive if. Plus, I genuinely believe that Sainz and Russell aren't World Championship material quite yet, with Russell having the better chance of doing so in the future. But Hamilton definitely is, 7 times over. So to recap, I think that Verstappen, Leclerc, Perez and Hamilton are all in with a shout. That being said, I know that realistically it's Verstappen versus Leclerc, with all the other contenders' chances being pretty low, but not zero. Just look at 2010, when the championship leader changed a whopping 10 times during the season. Felipe Massa, Fernando Alonso, Mark Webber, Lewis Hamilton, and Jenson Button all led the championship at various points. Before the season finale in Abu Dhabi, Alonso was in the lead, and Webber, Hamilton, and Sebastian Vettel, who had yet to leave a championship, still had a chance. Webber and Alonso pitted early and emerged behind Renault's Russian rookie, Vitaly Petrov, where they would stay for the remainder of the race. After his pit stop, Hamilton got stuck behind Robert Kubica in the other Renault, although he finally got some clear air after Kubica pitted late in the race. On lap 46 of 55, with 2 of the title contenders still stuck staring at the Renault rear wing, Vettel took the win and crucially the championship in one of the most thrilling season closers. One wrong move with the pit strategy or a stubborn wheel nut that added precious seconds to the stop, and Verstappen or Leclerc may find themselves staring at the rear wing of Mick Schumacher's Haas, allowing Perez or Hamilton to bag crucial points. Verstappen is currently ahead by 38 points and very likely to win. He has the car, the skill, and the strategy to take home his second title, and Red Bull as a team is pretty much on top form. But I wouldn't rule out Leclerc just yet. The season is far from over, and with both Ferrari and Red Bull having reliability issues, just one gearbox issue may turn the tides. Take for example Hamilton's rookie season that I mentioned earlier. With 2 races to go, he was 17 points ahead of Kimi Räikkönen in the championship and set to take the 2007 title, before ending up in the gravel and battling with his gearbox in the last rounds, allowing Räikkönen to snatch the title. Realistically, yes, I have to agree with Vettel, it's probably going to be Verstappen, but Leclerc's putting pressure on him, and with any luck, it's not going to be a landslide victory that mathematically is decided with 6 races to go. And regardless of the eventual winner, a good fight is the best outcome we can all hope for. Do you agree with my opinions? Who do you think is going to win this year? Let me know in the comments down below. But if you like this video, please leave it a like, helps out massively, and I'll see you next time.